Welcome back to a new episode of Semi-Pro Gridiron Rant. I am your host, Kenny Anderson, and we have a special guest co-host today, my mentor, Mr. David Wolf Parker. What's going on, my brother?
Just a beautiful day out here at Bear Lake, Idaho. Got up here yesterday, relaxing with the grandkids, and happy to be here to help you rant about football.
Love it. I love it. Hey, real quick, take your camera there and just give us a little backdrop for me. Show me that lake you got there. Oh, nice truck back there too. Oh, wow. Look at that view, folks. That is better than my view right now. I mean, I'm looking at your ugly mug, but that's fantastic. Love that view. Love that view. Yeah. So first, let's get into
stars here at night.
There you go. Let's get into why we got Wolfman here today. Number one, it's Mr. Jamie Hankey's 10th anniversary, if I got that correct. So him and Bridget are at the celebrating 10 years of matrimonial bliss. So
congratulations to them.
Yeah, and hopefully they have 100 more. So good group right there. Good duo, I should say. Now, Wolf, let's get a little backdrop of. Yeah. You said you're at the lake with your grandkids. So one story we didn't get to touch on when you were our guest on our second episode was you've actually adopted your grandchildren and you're raising them. Mm-hmm. And so tell us a little bit about your ventures or adventures this week, or actually it's been more than a week now. You got almost a month in, isn't it?
Yeah, today's 24 days. So we took off out of Colorado Springs, went to Walden, Colorado with our truck and RV trailer and saw some moose up there. And then the next day went to Rock Springs / Flamin' Gorge. Spent a day there, and then the next day we drove into Island Park, Idaho. The grandboys' maternal great-grandparents have an amazing cabin up there in Island Park, right outside of Yellowstone. So we go up there every summer for a while. We stayed a couple weeks, then we went up to Helena, Montana. And if you're ever in Helena, Montana, Kennedy, you have to go to then take the tour called Gates of the Mountains. It's a riverboat tour through a white limestone canyon, which is breathtakingly amazing. And then the next day we went to Blackfoot and hung out in the pathways and came back to Island Park. And then 2 days ago we came down here to Bear Lake and met some amazing people. Let the boys borrow some kayaks and paddle boards, and been working on my farmer's tan, because this belly button ain't seeing sunlight for a few more years.
Right. I'm with you there, man. I got a farmer tan. I've been, I mow my lawn on my neighbor's lawn. He's a retired gentleman who's taking care of his wife. So I volunteer and mow their lawn for him. So I've got me rocking a hell of a farmer tan right now down here in Texas. So it's it's good to get out
like
there.
A farmer burn,
right? It's getting. I am red, aren't I? That happens. I don't know if it's just lighting in here, or if it seems like I'm either an alcoholic, which those of you that know me, the only thing I drink is Diet Dr. Pepper.
Right. Well, I was wondering if we were having one of our old conversations when you were a player and I was a coach and you were mad again.
I may have gotten red once or twice during our conversations. It happens. So the cool thing about Wolf is he was put in a situation where he was able to adopt his grandchildren. So he's gone from empty nester of how many years since you've had children?
15.
So 15 years to instant family, not one, but two children, both boys.
Right. We like to call it empty nester, going empty nester to big messer, or re-enlisting for a second tour of duty as a parent.
There you go. And you know a lot about re-enlisting. You've done that for us several times. So thank you for your service on that. But so tell us a little bit. There's two things. Wolf's actually in the process of, he's in the, I guess what we call it the designing stage, or maybe it's the brainstorming stage of two more podcasts of his own. One's going to be the RV life, which is what he's living right now. Like he said, the last 24 days. And then the other one is the life he's also living, which we just touched on, is grandparents raising their grandchildren. And he's got some statistics that'll blow your mind as far as how many of those situations there are going on. So just give us, while we got a few minutes before our guest gets on, Give us kind of a breakdown of both. Like let's start with RV, and that's a little more obvious, right?
Right.
So tell us a little bit of what your plans are for the RV site, or at least the RV podcast.
Well, the plans with this is real simple. We're going to transition by July 1st of next year, 2021, to full-time RV living. Right now, we're basically learning all the ins and outs of really going 3-4 months at a time in a travel trailer that's 36 feet. And then we're going to evolve, if you will, into a 42-foot fifth wheel. We just, after already having a military career and having other careers, my wife has been a school teacher for 20 plus years. She's been a real estate agent. You find yourself at what I jokingly call starting over point, except you're not 20 anymore.
Right.
You're in your 50s, and you're like, wow, how do I raise 2 kids again? Do I go get another career? Well, we just don't want to. This is the time. I mean, Ken, you've known me for years. Just 2 years ago, Peg and I were putting 15,000 miles on a Harley, just out vacationing, enjoying ourselves, and seeing this amazing country we live in.
And running a booming restaurant.
Right, running a booming. So we're going to transition to that, because believe it or not, by crunching the numbers, it actually costs less. You know, truck's paid for, RV costs a couple $100 a month, and out you go. Costs less than having a house. And then when the boys, for example, the boys were studying Yellowstone, so we went to Yellowstone. The boys wanted to see the capital of Montana. We went to Helena, Montana. I mean, you can go and put your kids right in the middle of whatever they're studying. And homeschooling, we can get all the homeschooling done, Kenny, between 9 o'clock and 1 o'clock. We have lunch and we're out playing all day long.
Right.
Versus sitting at my house, I got to mow the lawn, got to mow the neighbor's lawn, got to take the garbage out, gotta.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm gotta sit here at this lake.
Just roughing it. So that's pretty cool that you're gonna document. And the advantage you have is, and not that other families can't do this, but obviously you married a school teacher 20 plus years, like you said, so she already knows what it takes to educate. But also, like you said, now you're gonna move the kids into, instead of looking at monuments, in 2D, right, in a book, or
right.
maybe even 3D on a computer. I don't know what the kids are doing these days, but you're going to take them. You're not only going to get the 3D version, but you're going to smell it, taste it, walk it, touch it. You're going to be able to use all your sensory too. So you're going to take their education to another level. So that's plus they're going to tour. I mean, as kids, we all go on family vacations, but it's, hey, you got a week if you're lucky, right? You pile in the back then it was the Beaver station wagon, right? You pile into the Beaver sided station wagon, and you head out to wherever it was. So now you're going to say, all right, we're doing both. You're actually doing 3 things. First and foremost, you're being a family, which, those 2 boys desperately deserve and need. And, that's huge kudos to you. I've come from a family where we were adopted. 3 boys were adopted. My mom remarried. He adopted us as his own. So I can relate to what those boys, how they will appreciate you going forward, as much as I appreciate my father, here on Father's Day weekend. So it's a good time to touch on that real quick. But, so you've got that going. And then, so the beauty about that is, again, like I said, you've got an educator in the family. You're giving those kids an education, right? And more importantly, you're showing them what family is. So, and again, for you, I'm sure you're a lot wiser, because I know if I were in that position, there's things I would do differently than what I did with Paige, right? Because at a young age,
sure.
I busted my ass to make sure she had everything she could have. And is she spoiled rotten? You're damn right she is. But I missed out. I missed out on some things of my own as a parent that I wish I had seen with her while I was working my ass off, making sure that she was taken care of. So to be in a position now where you can, being retired from the military, obviously you got a nice pension coming in, but you earn that obviously, and now you're living that second opportunity to fulfill some of that parent stuff that I'm sure even you could probably look back and say, damn, if I wasn't so invested in the military and gone overseas and all that other stuff you've done throughout the years, now you can also kind of make up what you missed in your parenting adventures. So that's pretty cool. So anybody out there that's a grandparent that's in the same situation, man, reach out to Wolf. He's going to, like I said, he's going to have a podcast. He's going to have, and do I have this right? Are there millions, or at least 100,000s of them? across the country?
Well, if you're talking about if you're talking about what they consider a grand family, which is, pardon me, some grandparent in some way, shape, or form connected to raising the children in the United States alone, there's 6.5 million.
Yeah.
And so, and it's when you wake
6.5
up one
million.
day.
Yeah, 6.5 million in a country that has 350 million people. That's huge.
Right.
It's a huge, huge.
And there's a lot of great and amazing organizations out there for support and to talk things out, but there's very few groups. Like my goal is by the end of the first year of RVing full time is to have a grand family get together, invite a bunch of grandparents and their kids somewhere. Maybe we'll see if we can get a good deal on some kind of resort, maybe here at Bear Lake, I don't know, and everybody get together, because it is definitely different. Your priorities are different when you're a grand family. You know, I look back at being a father, and I'll admit it, I screwed up more stuff than I got right. Now I find myself in my mid-50s standing in front of a child with the exact same situation 30 years later going, wait, I did it this way that time. Let's try this time. Let's see if we can sit back and let's see if we can think this out. Let's, one of my favorite
the problem
jokes
with having children
is,
oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. One of your favorite jokes?
It's all right. Well, it's a tongue-in-cheek kind of thing. When you're raising kids in your 20s and the kids drive you crazy, well, that night you and your wife or significant other, you can work it out. But now when you're in your 50s, you had that long day where the kids kick your butt. It's like, how you doing?
Right, for sure. Hell, I do that and I live alone. You know what I'm saying? After long, I'm out. So,
right.
So that's awesome. So we've kind of blended the two together, or I should say, you've blended the two together, which is fantastic. Yeah. So two of your loves, one that's going to be traveling the country, well deserved, and then the other one is obviously raising your grandchildren. So real quick, and I'll put this on the page, but can you give us an email where if anyone's RVing or going through the same grandchildren situation you are, they can reach out and maybe you guys can kind of link up?
Right. Well, we haven't launched everything, but they could always email my wife, Peg, or myself at David and Peg Parker at gmail.com. And we're going to launch that within the next couple of months. We want to have some lessons learned first. I want to share with people, hey, I got out here and my gas regulator went to crap. So this is how I fixed it. It got cold one night. How did we deal with that? How do you deal with two kids that far away from you from 700 miles? And they're like, are we there yet? 7,000 times.
Right.
Plus, we're really going to spend more time focused on the grand family, because if you think back, Kenny, I'll connect these two together for fun. When you transition from player to coach, there was a lot more emotional stress, a lot more mental power that you put in trying to figure out how to make that transition. And sometimes, because I know you thought this is dumb. Why am I going through this? I'm just, I already did my thing. I played ball, right?
Right.
So transitioning to coach takes a big person, regardless of who they are. It takes a lot of something inside. Well, when you go from you raise your kids to raising kids again, it's a real gut check. I mean, I literally had a fellow grandparent in this situation say, well, we can't adopt them because they'd be an interruption to what we want to do.
Right.
Well, I'm pretty sure that black tar heroin was an interruption to my 11 and 7-year-old grandson's life. So, I mean, it's a hard thing. And I just think the grand families out there need a group. They need to be able to reach out to somebody and say, hey, how do you deal with that little kid yelling, I miss my mom who passed away from a heroin overdose 3 days a week and crying every week? You and I as adults, we have little stupid comments like, well, suck it up or get over it. Rub dirt on it.
Dirt on it. There you go. Rub the dirt on it.
But, a 7-year-old boy, he can't rub dirt on it. So where do the grand families turn to? They got to turn to each other. And then add this one in, Kenny. How about this? How would you like to raise Paige's child with a woman you didn't raise kids with? Peg's not my first administration. We never raised children together. When we got together,
administration.
When we first got together, our kids are grown and gone. I mean, our first 10 years of marriage was empty house. It was like, were we riding Harley this week?
Right.
Now it's, hey, did you pick up the medicine? Hey, we forgot to boost oh my gosh, did you get the car washed? Because I can't see out the window because, whatever. All of
Right.
a sudden you're doing that again. So believe it or not, her and I recommend this for every grand family out there. This is my number one first recommendation for grand families. Get a marriage counselor. Now, let me explain. It's not because you're fighting, dude. When Peg and I went to the counselor, she's looking at the paperwork you fill out and she goes, okay, I've never had two people say their marriage is a 10, but yet they're sitting in my office. What's going on? We literally said we never raised kids together. So we want to figure out how to communicate better and figure out how to do this together and not let it start to pull our marriage apart.
Sure. That makes sense. That's first of all, I want to thank you for sharing the story. I didn't want to be the one to say what the backdrop was, and I didn't know if you were comfortable of why you ended up with the children. But thank you for sharing that. I know it's not easy, but I think part of, and I'm not a psychologist by any means, but I think part of sharing your stories will be what will make your podcasts and your website and your adventures successful. Because you're frank, even more frank than me, which is, some of my friends will be like, is that even possible? But he is. He's even more frank than
Yes.
me. So the fact that you're willing to share that, that's huge. So I appreciate you doing that on our show. So I know that's big, but you're right. What I think, and I think often, I am in a very selfish stage right now, and I'll admit it. Between moving to Texas, my daughter was supposed to come with me, but she decided she wanted to stay in New York. She got a nice job, so she's handling that there. So I'm kind of down here by myself. Yes, I bought a nice house. Yes, I've got nice things. Yes, but I worked my ass off for 30 years to do that. So I'm in a selfish stage right now. So I don't know if Paige were to have children and something happened to her to where I would have to take the children. Number one, me, I would do it. Right. But number two is the
Yep.
adjustment that I would have to go through would be, I don't even know if night and day is a big enough contrast to compare of where my selfish stage is right now versus where I'd have to go from selfish to completely unselfish and beyond in a, like you did, like a snap of the fingers. So I don't know, sitting back right now, not in that situation. It's tough for a guy to speculate. I know I would do it, but damn, it would be a struggle. I know it would be a struggle. So
Yeah, I don't call it night and day. It's not night and day. It's worse than that. It's your hottest day in Texas and the coldest day in Alaska back to back.
Yeah, extremes. Like I
I
said,
mean,
even
literally,
night.
you know how long it's been? You know how many years it's been since I had a car seat in my truck?
Well, 25 years, 30 years.
Right. And then all of a sudden, boom, here you go.
Boom, here you are.
And the funny thing is a lot of people don't realize this. This is something you may have thought of, Kenny, but if not, when I tell you, you're going to go, oh, that makes a lot of sense. When that lady tells you, oh, guess what? We're pregnant. Well, you got 9 months to deal with that emotion, deal with those changes, trying to make a plan. When
Right.
the state calls you up and says, will you take your grandchildren? I was in a math class at the university when I looked down and seen state of Utah. And I'm like, well, this ain't good. Right. So you answer the phone and it's yes. And then it's not 9 months of prep. It's
Right. 9
play parent
seconds.
now.
Yeah.
And oh, by the way, yeah. And oh, by the way, no, this isn't a trial run. And no, this isn't this isn't a short-term fix. And then that day, like we did when you sit in that courtroom and that judge talks to the kids and says, do you understand what this means? And the boys tell you that, the children you're adopting understand what it means. You walk out of that courtroom, this ain't like getting a tattoo where you can get mad and cover it, or you can, have it removed. This is
Right.
permanent. My wife and I, in our 50s plus, now have children to raise. End of story.
Mm-hmm.
There's no going back. It's not like,
Right.
you know what, we tried it for 2 years, we'll take it back to Walmart and get a freaking refund. No, this is
Yeah, no receipt needed. So here's the funny thing: you bring
right.
up the courtroom. Now, I was right just before my 5th birthday when my father adopted us. Do you know I remember being asked that question? Do you understand
Not surprised.
what this means? I was like 4 years old, maybe 3.5, 4 years old. Because I remember my first birthday with being adopted. I was 5, and they bought me a bike that had a 5 on it. So that's how I always remember that. But for some reason, one of my earliest memories is being in that courtroom, being asked if I understood what the situation was. So here I am, 40. I'll be 48 in August. So 43 years later, plus, and I remember, not like it was yesterday, but I have glimpses in my memory of being asked those questions. So those boys, when they get my age, again, as we had mentioned earlier, they're going to thank you. And I sit here and I'm thinking of things I want to do for my father from a distance for Father's Day. And I'll be honest with you, driving to get my haircut this morning, I'm tearing up thinking of things, what this man did for us. 3 children, 2 children for you, 3 children that he didn't have to do. He could have seen my mother. He could have ran. Instead, he fell in love with all of us. You know what I mean? So,
hey, when this was coming down, Kenny, when this was coming down, really coming in, it was going to get serious. Peg and I had a sit down conversation before the boys arrived. And I'm like, listen, we both started dating each other because the kids were gone. We had our careers. We had things going on. We didn't have to make adjustments like that. And I looked right at her and said, listen, I love you to death, but if you want to walk because you don't want to raise kids again, I understand. I get it. I don't have a choice. To me, I don't have a choice. They're my blood. That's it. But you married into this. I mean, she went from no grandma to grandma with 2 words, I do. So I gave her a way out. She got mad at me for it, but I was just trying to be fair. I mean, because it is a big deal. And we got paid pretty good 2-3 weeks ago in Yellowstone. We took the boys up to that prism crater overlook, looking down at that beautiful rainbow hot water. And as I was walking along with the oldest one, we were holding hands and talking, and he looked at me and he said, Grandpa, thanks for adopting me because now I'm safe. So, you know, those little tiny little things right there, that's worth it all.
He's
11.
So he's already feeling it at 11 years old. Yeah. So, again, my oldest brother was, well, if I was 5, almost 5, so he was almost 7. My littlest brother was probably like 3-ish. And then my youngest brother wasn't born yet. So I'm sure if you talk to my older brother, he's probably got a few memories that I don't remember that he, from the same scenario. So, before I get way too emotional on this, I just want to say it's a huge deal. Take it from someone who's been there. They will appreciate you way more down the road every day. I know they're thanking you along the way, but like I said, here I am 40 something years later. And I was pretty much tearing up thinking of things to do for my father for Father's Day from a distance. So let's end it there because we got our interview about to happen, but this happened purely by accident that that we get you on a Father's Day weekend and you go ahead and, adopting your children. So, I mean, it's actually a pretty good segue, to have you here today. So I appreciate you joining us, and sharing your story. Cause I know not everyone has the intestinal fortitude to, go that deep and, share it with the world basically. So, appreciate you not only co-hosting, but also opening up and sharing your story with us. All right. Welcome back. We have with us today, special guest, former owner of mine. He didn't own me, I guess, but he owned the team that I coached for. Mr. Vishaun Grissett. We go by Vi, or he goes by Vi. Say hello there, Vi.
How's everybody doing today?
We appreciate you joining us today. So, Vi, what we want to do is let's start out with kind of give us your backdrop. Give us a little bit about, what was your football career prior to an owner? What brought you into semi-pro ball? How'd you hear about it? What brought you there? And more importantly, what made you say, man, I want to be an owner? We had our first owner on last week and he kind of gave us his story. So I'd like to hear what craziness happened that you said, you know what, screw it, I'm starting my own thing. So why don't you start with there?
All right. So it actually is a kind of interesting story. So the Spartans is kind of my second team that I owned in a way.
Okay.
But I'll start with my football career in history first. So I started out my first time playing football. I was 11. I played Pop Warner, and I played fullback. didn't play very much, didn't get the ball very much, mostly blocking guy, but notice I was bigger and faster than most of the guys on the team, but I was new to the team, so I didn't really get the same opportunity as a lot of guys. So then I fast forward to I played in middle school for actually only 2 games.
Okay.
That was I did really well there. I only, like I said, the first game I had like 21 tackles on defense playing cornerback.
Wow.
So they moved me to linebacker that next game, and I had an interception, return for a touchdown, like 11 tackles and 2 carries for 80 yards and a touchdown. And
so it began.
Yep. So it began. I had a bunch of high school coaches recruit me to come to their high school and stuff like that, but I ended up getting in trouble. I got in a fight. One of my teammates got kicked off the team.
Oh, geez.
Yep. So then I started back again, 9th grade in high school for Inglewood, and I played junior varsity as a freshman.
Nice.
And did really well there. Actually, after the first 3 practices, the varsity coach asked me to move up to varsity to play defensive back for him. But at that time, I didn't understand, career progression and things like that. I only knew I was playing for fun.
Right.
I didn't know that I was trying to play for a scholarship or anything.
Right.
I didn't know better.
Sure.
And so I chose to play JV so I could continue to play running back. And then I moved up at the end of the year. And then my sophomore year, I ended up being ineligible for grades.
Uh-oh.
And, yep. I had a 1.935, and I needed a 2.0 to play. But that was pretty much my wake-up call, though. So I came back my junior year, and I was playing wing back then, and because we ran a wing T system.
Mm-hmm.
And I did pretty well as a junior, but it was my senior year that I kind of, broke out a little bit. And then I ended up walking on to a small historically black college here in Jacksonville called Edward Waters.
Yep.
I played 2 years there, and I ended up tying the NAIA record for punt return.
Oh, nice.
So I had a 97-yard punt return.
Sweet.
And then, I walked on to Edward Waters maybe 2 or 3 weeks into their training camp. And within that first week, I was signing a scholarship. That first week, we had a scrimmage on that Saturday. I scored twice in the scrimmage, and that same night, I was in there signing scholarship papers.
Wow, cool. That's very cool.
Yeah.
So all right, so you've 2 or 3 examples of you took your opportunity and ran with it literally, right? So for the youngins out there listening to this, I have similar stories, not as fantastic as yours, but I was given multiple opportunities, and I feel like, 7th grade, dude, just as an example, I was the smallest kid on the team. I was like 4'2", no lie. I was 4'2". I was about 65 pounds. I was the last person to get pads because I was so small.
Mm-hmm.
We were about a week into hitting, and the coach put me out at safety, and he says, "Stand back there. Don't get hurt, son. Just stand back there." So they run a sweep. Our starting tailback takes off. Boom, he breaks free. It's me and him. Coach sees it's me and him, blows the whistle. Bam! I light the dude up. Coach goes, "Who was that?" And I'm like, and I was scared because I heard the whistle. I hit the dude anyway, right? And he goes, and I go, it's Anderson, sir. He goes, "Nice hit, son. Can you do it again? But play to the whistle." So, and that was kind of the start, so I ended up being the only 7th grader to start every game, and it started there. So just a real quick little story is opportunities, right? When that door opens for an opportunity, you have to be ready to take it. And you had 3 examples there of, and my semi-pro career, I have another one too, but we won't get into that.
And I will tell you another story about opportunities. So I remember when I tried to walk onto the team, right? I go there and, because I actually, to be honest, I graduated high school and I really had no clue what I was going to do at that point because I was so disappointed that I wasn't going to a bigger school. Because, man, listen, Coach, when I tell you, I was a smaller guy now. I was about 5'6", 165 pounds, really not even that big. Mm-hmm. But I could bench press 275 pounds. Wow. I was a legit 4'3" guy. Legit 4'3". I'm talking about I was a track runner, so I went to state and track in the 100-meter dash. So I was disappointed, and then I felt like, my coaches didn't sell me well. They didn't today. My coach did specifically tell me don't go to any camps or combines, because if anybody gets a true height and weight on you, they're not going to want you.
Right.
And of course, as I got older, I realized if they just seen a 40 time, that's all it would have took.
Yeah. Look how many dudes are your size in the NFL now, because they ran a ridiculous 40 time, right? And you would have done it before most dudes were training so hard to run sub 4.4s. You were doing it naturally.
Oh yeah, listen, and the thing is, I never really learned the technique to run. Like, I kind of taught myself and adjusted certain things for my track, and related it and made it work for my 40. But man, I really did honestly teach myself how to run. And so, man, I ran a 4.3. The first time I ran one was my junior year in high school. And then I came back my senior year, and those guys on the team the seniors on the team were mad because no way you faster than all of us. I said, well, the times tell a different story,
right?
Line
them up.
And then yep, and then yep, exactly. And then none of them could ever beat my track time. So it was like, okay, so what are we really talking about here,
right?
And but
go ahead. I was gonna say, in college, did you you were punt returner? Did you play anything else? Were you tailback?
Yeah. I played running back, slot receiver, punt return, and a little bit of defensive back. So I played a little bit of everything.
Okay.
But mostly running back, slot guy. And I did all the return game, kick return, punt return.
Nice.
Since I got there.
Okay. So
and then
so you graduate from college, right? And then
nope, I didn't graduate. Only played 2 years.
Okay, so you finished your schooling. I didn't. Hey, you got further than I did. I lasted 1 semester. So, so you're done with school. What gets you into semi-pro ball? how'd you hear about it? Now in Jacksonville, I'm going to imagine, just because I spent a little time there, it's definitely bigger in Florida. Everything's bigger when it comes to football, right? Between Florida, Texas, California, football is just a way of life. In New York, I kind of stumbled upon it on an ad in a newspaper that one of my employees showed me. Hey, you played football in high school. What do you think about this? How did you go from no longer at college playing ball to now I'm playing semi? Did you play prior to owning a team, or did you just boom, I want to own a team?
Nope, I played prior. So this is what happened. I was actually playing a pickup game at a park at Spring Park, where we I think we may have practiced there when you were here, but we were playing a pickup game, and these guys come up there. They got camcorders, they got their girlfriends with them, and talking all kinds of shit, coach. Oh man, you wouldn't be doing that if we were on the field, and blah blah blah. So we end our game that we're playing, and then I said, all right, come on now, it's time for y'all to play. Let's see what y'all got. And they were talking about, oh yeah, we play for this semi-pro team and this and that. I'm like, okay, whatever. So I get out there, light them up, coach.
Mm-hmm.
And then all on their camera, all in front of their girlfriends, and I start talking my shit too. I said, all right, y'all stumbled upon the wrong pickup game. So after the game, they asked me to come out and play for their team. It was a team called the Duval Tigers.
Okay.
Yep, and so I said, okay, I'll come check it out, because I had never heard of semi-pro up to that point.
Right.
I never knew it existed. I thought after college my football career was done. I thought, that was the last time, because I actually, and that's like I said, the story there. Like I literally mentally quit on my college team my about 2 or 3 games into my sophomore year.
Mm-hmm.
I knew I wasn't gonna play for them again.
Right. So it's funny you say that about semi-pro. It's the underground sport of America. It really is. There's so many people that just stumble upon it. So one of the reasons I started this podcast, to be honest with you, is number one, I love talking sports. Number two, I love all the stories that how people got here, how, what people are doing after football. But the other thing I love is my goal is I want to spread the word of this level of football. A lot of people look at it as bar league, and that actually upsets me because I never approached it that way. I want it to be a professional, and I know it's called semi-pro, but I'd like to put a little more emphasis on the pro side of that and get this known where people are filling stadiums, where people are, enjoying the sport and looking forward to the games on Saturday nights. And it's twofold. It's not just we need the fan base, but we also need players to know about it. And we need the players to act professionally, right? That's
Oh,
So
yeah.
it's a whole combination. So some of it is, the idea of this podcast is I want to spread the word of this level of football because I think it's a fantastic level for guys who love the sport and for one reason or another weren't good enough to get to the next level. Now, some of us flunked out of college, right? Some of us were fast as hell, but was told you're too small and believed it as a young man, right? That would be you. So, and I can't blame you there because like you said, back then, what the hell did we know? There was no internet, right? I mean, internet didn't come out till 96. So we didn't know that stuff. Football was dead. You're right. Dude, I was so sad when football was over. I'm like, now what the hell am I gonna do? I started playing softball with some dudes and they were taking it crazy serious. And I'm like, I'm just here to fuck around. I got yelled at for hitting a home run in a game because it was limited. You're only like allowed 5 home runs or something. And I hit one out of turn and I got blasted for it. I'm like, you out of your fucking mind. I'm like, this is way, you guys are way too serious. This is fucking softball, man. I'm not, and those guys ended up playing in tournaments and making money and stuff like that. So they started taking it real serious to make some money. And so then I just, like I said, an employee of mine stumbled on it and said, hey, look at this. And I called, and next thing you know, I'm fucking playing football. So, and it's basically been my life outside of work and my daughter. No one knows me. They know me 3 things. They know me as car guy. They know me as a football player, and they know me as Paige's father, right? Those are like the 3 things that I am. And so I couldn't imagine my life at 19 and football was gone. So again, we're here to, so I hope your buddies in Florida that get to watch this, I hope that they spread the word and we get some more cool stories from down there. Let's get some of the Commandos on here. Let's get some of the Blackhawks on here. Let's get some of the deep South Florida teams on here. And, let's talk football and let's get this thing rocking and rolling and get our sport, noticed throughout the country,
The things I've seen as a coach without, have been incredible. Listening to Vi's story is amazing. Yeah. In 2000, I had a man just like Vi. I mean, listening to the story took me straight back to a young man named Anthony Parker. I mean, that kid could run like nobody's business, but he was short. Mm-hmm. And he went to a high school that had a terrible record, so nobody paid attention to him. But I swear he was the fastest human being I ever seen. And not only that, the kid could jump. He was short, but he loved to run down the field. And every time he did it, I was just like, how does he do that? But he would slam dunk the basketball on the field goal. I'm like 6'2", and I can't do it. And this kid's running, lightning fast. So listening to my story, he ain't the only one, but those are always amazing. That's why I'm saying maybe you need to change this to Gridiron Rant and Rave.
Rant and Rave. There you go. It's not a bad idea. Maybe I'll put like a little after like thing that pops up and Rave. That's a pretty good idea. You said you played for a team, right? And then something must have clicked where you said, "Screw this, I'm gonna do my own thing because I have better ideas."
Did he get mad at somebody?
Well, no. All right, so I'll tell you what happened. So, all right, so I played for this Duval Tigers team, right? And I started recruiting like guys who played at high school with me. So
you're with the Tigers. You're recruiting a bunch of your friends to come play with you. What happened from there?
All right, so after the season was over, like I said, we went to the championship. We lost in the championship game. So one of my buddies, Craig, he said, "Hey, I want to start my own team." We played. He was one of my old linemen in high school.
And Craig Bennett.
Craig Bennett.
Let's give him a shout out.
Yeah. Let's go down, big Craig. And so I came with Craig and one of his middle school coaches, Coach Chris, and we sat together and we decided to start a team called the First Coast Cardinals. Okay. So we go through. We start recruiting players. Now, I'm not going to lie. I do feel like I did a heavy majority of the recruiting. I recruited a bunch of players. We had tryouts. We brought a bench press out to the tryouts and had guys bench press 225, the whole 9. Nice. But I got out there at tryouts, and I pulled my hamstring running 40s.
Yikes.
So I get out there. I missed the first week and a half or 2 weeks of practice because, of course, injured.
Mm-hmm.
So I come out there, and the guy, Coach Chris, he is getting onto my case, and I'm like, hold on, what's going on here? Cause but the whole time we were kind of doing it, it was always kind of like, he was always trying to kind of, I don't know, find ways to kind of push me out. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so I get to practice, and man, it's a whole big ordeal. And I'm like, hold on, man, what's going on here? You haven't been here. And then I said, man, we communicated about this. You know why I wasn't here. I was injured during our tryouts. It's not like I was, and it was a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, okay, cool. And I left, and then so I let them do their thing. They did their thing for a couple years, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think they only lasted for like 2 years, and then Craig was like, "Yeah, no, things are going south." So Craig came back to me and said, "Hey, let's start our own team, just me and you." I said, "Okay, cool." So we started a team called the First Coast Titans. And we get out there, and actually this was at the time where during our we were having a workout, and I, like I said, I think you're aware of this, but my injury.
Mm.
We were having a workout before the season started. We hadn't even had our last tryout yet, and we were out of the workout, just throwing the ball around. I was running a fly route, and I went to go catch the ball, and boop, I blew my knee out. I dislocated everything in my left knee. I mean, it was to the point where I could have kicked myself in the forehead with it.
Oh wow, yuck.
Yep. So it was an ugly injury, and then like I said, it sidelined me for a while. I didn't play for about 2 years. But I mean, I stuck around and did the Titans, and to be honest, even that with Craig, it ended up being, I felt like I was doing the lion's share of the work. So after that Titans year, I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna go ahead and just do my own thing. And I had never watched the movie 300 up to that time, and I watched the movie 300, and of course, that's how the Spartans were born.
All right. I was going to ask that. Why Spartans? Okay, so the movie 300 is guilty, and then they do chant before the games. So they bring the Spartan cry with them.
Oh yeah.
So you start the Spartans now, real quick. Tommy there.
Tommy's here.
Tell Tommy to pop his head in. Now, the cool thing about the Spartans, man, is it's 3 brothers running this thing. So, well, Vi's the dude, but he's got 2 of his brothers that play with him. So, Tommy, say hello.
What's going on?
Tommy's the old man, man. This guy looks like he's 50, but he runs like a 4.3. So this guy's a hell of a receiver for me. So good to see you, my man. Hope you're well, buddy.
Yes, sir.
All right, send TG my love, all right? And you guys stay healthy this year.
Yes, sir.
All right, guys. So yeah, so there's 3 brothers. Vi's the owner, but he's got TG, and then he's got his brother Tommy. They're all they're all fast. Man, they're all fast. They're all great athletes. You can put any 3 of those anywhere in the field you want, other than linemen, although some have done it. They played safety, corner, wide out, running back, help, quarterback, maybe even tackle. I don't know. But they've tried just about everything, right? So so they're very, very athletic family. So you start the Spartans. Now, first year, Jacksonville Beach Spartans, right?
Yep. The idea was kind of to go out to the beach where the semi-pro market was kind of untapped out there, because Jacksonville is saturated with semi-pro teams. I mean, it is teams, and it didn't really happen until like when I was playing with the Duval Tigers, it might have been 3 or 4 teams in town. And then next thing we did the First Coast Cardinals, the First Coast Titans. And by the time the Spartans came around, there was 8 teams, So next thing you know, it's all these different teams in town. So we really wanted to try to go out there and tap into that market. Mm-hmm. And for whatever reason, it didn't go as well as I thought. Because I thought, that would be a little bit of an area that would kind of embrace having their own kind of little semi-pro team out there.
Well, Wolf and I know that feeling. We tried to start a team when I left Watertown and then went to Shock. In between, we started a team called the Oswego County Outlaws, and we had about 40 to 50 guys on a roster. We had, Wolf loves to tell the story, we're the only team he knows that had practice field, 2 game fields, full equipment, 2 sets of uniforms. We had 40-something man roster. Nobody showed up. 2 players showed up.
Wow.
So we did that for about 3 weeks. And then I said, I'm throwing in the towel. And then the Shock called me and said, hey, you want to come coach for us? So so we've all been there, right? So you got further on getting that off the ground than I did. So then you went from Jacksonville Beach, and then you go to Jacksonville Spartans. That's where you guys start to have some success as far as recruiting is concerned. And and you've played at a few different places, right? So what are some of the home fields you've played at?
There is a park here called Sanssouci, which is just a neighborhood park. It's close to where I grew up at. I played a lot of football on that field, played a lot of basketball on the court out there. So it was nice to play there. And then, of course, we went big to University Christian,
Beautiful
which was
place.
the big, nice turf field. And then we also played at Pine Forest, which is another just a small athletic association park. And then this past year, we actually moved out to Hilliard, which is a little bit more in the country.
Out in the redneck part of town.
Oh, yeah.
Bringing football to the country. Nothing wrong with that. Now the place that I coached at, so for those we haven't touched on it yet, but I coached for Vi's team for basically 2 seasons. And, dude, the facility he had hooked up, brand new turf. I'm saying brand new turf. And it was beautiful. It was stadium was smaller. I mean, it's a private high school field, but beautiful facilities, man. I mean, Vi had us hooked up on that. And I mean, you want to feel like you're playing in the bigs, man. That's Vi did it right there. But the problem with semi-pro ball is,
oh yeah,
yeah, cost that paper.
Wait, what do you mean the problem?
A problem.
Okay.
There's more than one problem with semi-pro ball, but as far as the financials are concerned, two things that are the biggest: uniform costs and stadium costs. Those two will shut down a team faster than anything. So success-wise, he's had some good winning seasons. I know the year we were there, or the first year I was there, we had a really good season to start. We were actually nationally ranked. We were in the top 20 for a little bit, and then injury after injury after injury after injury. And ironically, Vi, when you were telling your story, Johnny Reynolds called me.
Really?
Yeah. So Johnny was our quarterback. So I'll reach out to him after, because he was busting my chops about my gray hair on our video, and I said, "Hey, jackass, I called you last week. Why didn't you call me back?" So now he's trying to call me. So. And I interviewed Stephen Taylor, episode 4. I don't know if you saw that episode.
I did. Yeah.
So big man's doing well too. So Spartans hit or miss seasons, and honestly, we had a great year going until everyone got hurt. I mean, we were losing linemen hand over fist. We had, when I laughed and said Tommy and TG were playing offensive line, they may have, because I remember Ramon, who was our people call them athletes today. I call them utility players. That dude played everything. He did play quarterback for me. He did play tailback for me. He did play slot for me. He did play wideout for me. He did play safety. He did play corner. He did play middle linebacker. He did play D end. I mean, the guy played everything we asked him to. And in the last couple of games, the dude played guard and tackle. So the guy would play anywhere, and he's small. No offense, Ramon. But he's a small dude. He's a wide receiver. He's in a wide receiver body, and he's playing freaking tackle, and he's crushing people, and he's pulling guard, and he's laying people out. So we were just decimated. Johnny, our quarterback, one guy just called, he breaks his back with a couple games to go. We have a receiver that was a D1 corner, right? Kareem comes in. Dude, he's torching the league. Him and Johnny were in a special – I think the three of us had a connection, man. We would just think a play, and we would basically run it. We'd be like, "Hey, what do you think of this?" Boom, I saw safety do this. Boom, boom. We're all on the same page. Boom, he'd run it. Boom, he's scoring, right? He gets hurt, pulls a hamstring. He's out for the rest of the year. Vi's not fully recovered from his knee yet. We've got Dre, who was our starting tailback because Vi wasn't completely healthy yet. He gets hurt. Our fullback goes down. This guy goes down. That guy goes down. Half our line's gone. We just got decimated with injuries. And as I mentioned on episode 4 with Stefan, the problem with Jacksonville, and you touched on it, is I said at the time, 8 to 10 teams, and I'm probably short. So you're so thin. There are no linemen. I mean, the Commandos have some linemen because they've been there forever. And there's a couple other teams that have some linemen that have been there forever. but anyone else, it's tough, man. It's a battle of fruition. Whoever can survive, because they're just battling, dude. They're battling each other. They're cool because everybody knows everybody. So it's kind of a different field than up here in New York where we're really spread out. But you're playing games inside of Jacksonville. Like I said, I know it's a huge landmass, but you're still playing where everybody knows everybody and they've played in college against each other or high school against each other. So it's kind of a different feel. But okay, so let's talk about current events. What in the hell is Florida going to do with this corona? Are you guys going to have a season? I know a team up here in New York we interviewed last week. They're going to have some sort of tournament, like maybe an 8 to 10 team tournament starting in September. What's the plans? I mean, has corona shut you down completely as far as football is concerned? Kind of fill us in what's going on there.
Yep. So the corona did shut us down for a while. So like May, I want to say the beginning of May, the league reached back out and said, hey, any teams that want to resume, you can pay X amount of dollars and join the playoff run. And, like at this point, I'm not going to lie to you, we were short then. We're rebuilding. We were 0-5 this year. Mm-hmm. And I was saying, hey, you know what? Maybe we need to go ahead and sit this one out. Maybe we need to start focusing on, and to be honest, just like what you said with injuries, we've had way too many injuries the last 2 years. We can't keep guys on the field because we can't keep them healthy. So that's why I said, you know what? Maybe we do need to pull away, work on our strength and conditioning, really get these guys in football shape. So even myself personally, I've been really hitting the weights hard 3 times a week at least. I went and bought a weight bench, trying to get another one so I can have a team come over and lift. Nice. And but we're going to really get our bodies in shape, man. But we chose not to finish our season this year. We did have teams just resume playing last week. Okay. And I'm not sure exactly what the league, they did like like I said, we stopped 5 games into the year, but they did I think the last 2 weeks of the season or something like that, and then they're doing playoffs. Okay. So they are still going. I know some of the games last week got canceled due to field issues and restrictions due to the coronavirus. Mm-hmm. and things of that nature. But I think they're continuing on. They're gonna finish out the year. But we are the Spartans. We actually just started last week workouts. So we've been doing workouts and trying to get everybody, like I said, in shape for real. Because if everybody wants to win like they say we want to win, then getting in shape should be the easy part.
For sure. So a couple things. Florida, number one, they basically play all year round. So they have what they call a winter league, which is what Vi's team is, that winter-ish league, and then they have basically what we would call a fall league up here, but they play. So there's guys that will play all year round, and then you got Ramon who plays all year round and plays for this freaking amazing flag team that he's always constantly winning rings and money for. So they've got a ton of football shit going on down there. That's part of the reason there's a lot of injuries, because some dudes wear themselves thin, and let's be honest. Yeah. You got to rest your body at some point. And then there's the converse of that, right? There's some dudes who roll out of bed and just say, fuck it, I'm playing football. And they've done no weight training. They've done no stretching. They've done nothing, right? So they show up.
Sounds like you, Kenny.
Yeah, I haven't done any of that. I will admit there was a year I came in about 20 pounds overweight, and I was like, holy shit, I'm never doing this again. So, yeah, so it does happen. It does happen. So, and that leads to injury. So if you are a semi-pro dude, or you want to be a semi-pro dude and you're watching this, do yourself and your team a favor. Do not start playing without working out first. And by workout, I mean anything physical. Start walking, for Christ's sake. Use the weight room, for Christ's sake. Do some stretching. Start eating properly, because it's no joke. This isn't bar league softball, okay? Some guys joke and call it bar league football. It isn't. You go out there out of shape, you're going to get your dick put in the dirt. It's that simple. You're going to get hurt. And it's going to happen. And there's guys, Vi's in shape most of the time. He still got hurt. All right. I played with a tailback named George Eason, one of the most jacked dudes you'll ever see. Blew out his ACL, not once, but twice. Okay. And he was in shape. Okay. So you have to be ready to play the game. Don't think you're just going to roll out of bed and start playing. Yep. So with that being said, so we've got Corona's kind of taken over everybody. So the good news is Florida's attempting to move on with life. Good. I'm glad. and I'm not downing any team because I got an email from can't remember if it's Semi-Pro Today or whatever it was, but they just sent a list of what team or what leagues aren't playing, blah blah blah, and they're kind of keeping us updated. So, so I'm glad to see Florida's getting involved and actually playing some games. I think that's important to the survival of most of these teams, which I touched on before. Because when you shut something, Vi went through it. He took a season off, and now he said he's in rebuild mode. It's tough to shut down. Congrats on him to coming back and trying to make it all work. But he's feeling the struggle of a shutdown, and it's tough, especially when there are perennial teams. Like I keep mentioning the Commandos. They're kind of like the top dog down there, or at least they were when I was down there.
Yeah, they were, but they're not operating anymore.
What? See what I mean? Boom, like that. And this is a team that won rings, man. This is a team that dominated.
And but it's the same thing. After a while, the players think that they, can run the team better than the owner, and then the players go start their own team and become owners and realize it's not as easy as they thought it was.
Right.
The Commandos was definitely one of those teams that kind of fell to that. And to be honest with you, they have one of the better owners that I've seen in semi-pro football in my time doing this.
Yeah. Another team that had fantastic uniforms, right? Always listen. And the reason I mention uniforms is, let's be honest, in today's world, that is a huge draw for our athletes. What are they getting for their money, right? Because these players aren't paid. At least they're not supposed to be. They don't get paid, and they're actually paying to play the game. So if they're going to pay $200 out of their pocket or $250 out of their pocket, they want some good gear, right? They want the swag. So you have to compete uniform wise. And they did that. And Vi did that. And then the last season I was there, beautiful new jerseys. We actually went retro. I brought down my Shock game pants that I had. Their first color was Carolina blue. So we kind of went to the Titans and the Shock blue for one season, just to help him save on uniform costs, because, the pants I had were $75 a whack. Multiply that times 60 players. It ain't cheap, folks. It ain't cheap that's just uniforms. And that's just the pants. Okay. So Commandos were doing it right, and they still got decimated, taken apart by internal struggles. If you're a player and you think you can do it better, the odds are 1% of you can. 1% of you probably can. Okay.
Yep.
Stop. You're part of the problem, not part of the solution. Okay. This is where we call it a rant. I'm ranting right now. We've all been there. My first coaching gig was a guy who separated a team. Now that team's still playing. I think it's 13 years later. That's one that got successful, but a lot of grief along the way. They finally won a championship 10 years into being, I was there for the first 2 seasons. They went 10 years. Last week we had guy Ryan, his team's on their 14th season. Again, rare. Syracuse, the team that I went to, they've had probably, since I've started, they've probably had 10 teams since 1993, a couple versions of the Express. They currently have the Strong. I was the Shock, took over the Shock. We had the Vipers, who I played for. We had the Storm, who I played for. There's just 5, right? So, and there, like I said, there are many iterations of the Express. So, and that's a bigger market. It's not Jacksonville, but it's a bigger market, right? So stop, guys. Look at what you got. Now, there's teams that suck. They're ran poorly. They're ran like shit. Yes, if you can do better than that, do better than that. But there's teams that are ran very well. Appreciate that. Shut your pie hole. Put your ego to the side and understand. Go to the owner. Go to the head coach and try to have a conversation with a civil one. Not an argument. Don't rant. That's my job. That's the show's job. Have a civil conversation of what you'd like the team to be. You'd be surprised as an owner. I've been there. You sit down with a few players and they start griping, you start listening. Hanky, my normal co-host, he was a player, but he was on my board. Chico Hale, he was a player, he was on my board. I was constantly talking to players to make the team better for them. I'm just there to facilitate the team. As an owner, you're a facilitator. You should be called a team facilitator, because that's what you do. And you own the bills, right? I keep saying every show, I've said, the only thing you're owning are the bills. You are owning the responsibility for facilitating that team, insurance, fields, ref costs, uniforms, practices, blah, 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 blah. You're a facilitator. You're not an owner. And if you're just an owner who Wolf likes to call a jock sniffer, that team ain't gonna be around long.
Yeah.
That team
Right.
won't be
Go
around
to
long.
that owner if you're really having a problem and buy him out.
There's that.
I always love these guys who want to be football, semi-pro owners. They got $5 in their pocket because they're going to figure out how to get all their guys to buy their own uniforms, and they'll make their money at the gate for the field. And they're the ones that always collapse 4 games into the season. And then guys like Vi, who are rare, who's smart enough and thinks enough of his players that he shut the team down during injury time to rebuild and focus on where he's taking his organization. Vi should stay an owner. We can find more people like him that are looking at the organization as long-term, that we can turn semi-pro around and maybe go to full pro instead of just semi-pro.
Right. Vi's a different cat, and you will, if you spend some time with him, you'll understand that he's not your average dude. I think him and we clicked. First of all, I met him through an employee of mine. He was one of my salesmen. He showed up for an interview, the salesman, and he was wearing his semi-pro ring. And dude, you know me. I picked that up immediately. I'm like, dude, what's that? Oh, I coached for blah, blah, blah. We won the championship, blah, blah. Boom. Next thing you know, he's like, oh, I'm coaching for the Spartans. You want to come talk to Vi? Like, yeah, sure. Why not? Boom. Next thing you know, I'm offense coordinator. A few weeks later, the head coach says, hey, listen, you know more about this than I do. You're the head coach now. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So I was a head coach, but Vi's a different cat. He has, you'd said it. He's got vision. And there's times him and I butted heads because I'm from the North. He's from the South. I've got a few ideas of how I used to do it. He's got ideas how you want to do it. We eventually found things in the middle that worked. But ultimately, I also knew he was the boss. This wasn't my team anymore. He was the boss. So ultimately, what he wanted had to go, right? And it was a strange dynamic. And I'm going to share this story that most owners, when I tell this story, are going to say, fuck you, man. I would never let that fly. Vi owned the team and wasn't a starter. I'm going to say that again. Vi owned the team and wasn't a starter for me.
What?
Thank you. How many of you guys right now would own a team, let some dude from the North move in, coach your team, and not have you start? Now, we had lots of conversations. Now, he was also battling an injury, right? So he wasn't 100% confident in his knee yet, but he wasn't my starter. And that really didn't come into play until season 2 when he was getting a lot healthier. And then I had to find a way to use him more, right? Because now he's healthy. And that's when it was a little stickier for both of us. But season 1, the dude never brought it up to me. Not once asked for playing time. Not once said, I own this damn team. You're going to do what I fucking say. Not once.
Now that's rare.
That's why he's a rare cat. He put the organization as a whole ahead of his own self. There is not, I don't think, me included, if I was still able to play when I owned, I would have found a way to be on the field. I would have told
talking about you played when you coached, so you don't even act like that. You know dang well.
Well,
if you own a team and you could play, you'd be on the field, sir.
That's what I just said. I just said if I owned and I could still play, my ass would have been on the field.
You and I both know that a lot of people start semi-pro teams that way they can buy themselves a starting position. Right. They're not good enough anymore.
Right. Now, Vi's a different cat. Like I said, once he got healthy, dude, this guy's got moves like Barry, and I'm not lying. I mean, this guy would put his foot in the
Barry
dirt.
White. Hello, Barry.
Hello.
I got those moves.
He'd put his foot in the dirt and he'd be gone. He could shake in the hole. He could accelerate. And when he was starting to warm up, as the season went on, he's like, oh, I'm starting to feel good. I'm like, damn, you're fast. He goes, Coach, I'm not even close to what I used to be. And
so you're talking about Vi or George Eason, because they sound a lot alike to me.
The only Vi's, let's see, I think, Vi, how tall are you?
About 5'7".
I was gonna say he's 5'7". What's your weight?
Right now, kind of heavy. Right now, about 180.
Okay, so here's the difference. George Eason is 5'8", 225. Well, he played at 205, but George was violent runner. He would find a hole.
Violent.
he would stick his foot in the ground and he'd get vertical. Fastest accelerator I've ever seen. This dude was so fast, and this is a true story. I'm gonna turn sideways so you can see this. I'm blocking my D end. I push the dude out. I create separation. I reload. Easton goes between me and the D end. He sees a hole. Whoom, as I'm reloading. Boom.
Yeah.
I create separation. I come back. Woo, there goes George. Boom. And I'm back. I'm like, what in the hell just happened? Now, Vi was, like I said, he's got Barry in him. Vi can give you that shake and bake and boom. And it's his juke step or his jab step. It wasn't a violent plant like Easton's, but it's a plant that was firm, boom, and he was full speed. You know, Easton could go from 0 to full speed on that plant. Vi's going full speed to full speed, plant. And it was, you know, it was just, once he was getting healthier, it was fun to watch. And then I knew I was fucked when the second season came. I'm going to try to find a way to get him and Dre both on the field at the same time. You knew that neither of them were fullbacks. They're both, you know, both of them could run the rock. So yeah, tough problem to have, right? So all right. So we've got Corona's kind of messing with Florida, but they're going to play ball. We put the Spartans on lockdown, 0-5. We're going to reload. What do you see, you know, like in the next 5 years for the Spartans? What's kind of your team goals?
Well, you know, the first thing is, man, to be honest with you, we got to get this monkey off our back because, you know, we haven't won a game in 2 years. We took that year off. Then we came back the previous year we finished the season that year with like 13 guys.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it was a rough one, you know, injuries and, you know, just guys kind of quitting as, you know, they didn't want to play that, you know, 15 on 35 football, you know.
Right.
But we finished the year and then so now, but we did keep that 13 guys that finished with us, that core group of guys stayed with us for the following year. You know, and the thing about it is we're not just getting beat up out there on the field. You know, we're losing close games. We're starting to get it together. We got pretty much a brand new nucleus to the football team. So now, like I said, we're really building a bigger focus on the weight training, the body weight workouts, making sure we get guys in shape and actually taking care of their bodies and taking care of themselves so that we can have less injuries and get started a little bit earlier. So in the next 5 years, for one, like I said, we got to start winning ball games. That's goal number one, and that's going to start happening this following season. Like even if it's like myself, Tommy's been lifting weights, TG's been lifting weights, even little Gerald, younger brother that he hung around the team but never played.
Okay.
He's actually playing, but he's lifting weights. So we're going. The goal is really to start getting guys in shape. So to start getting guys, because you know my philosophy on Semi-Pro. If you're playing this, you're playing it because you love the game.
Right.
You're playing it because you love the game. But now, you know, I love the game still, but I love the game a lot more when I'm winning.
It's a lot more fun with the W's instead of the L's.
Oh yeah, it's way more fun, man. And I know and I'm also the kind of guy I'm not gonna ever do something I wouldn't ask anybody else to do. So man, even though I'm working, I'm doing this landscaping thing. I make sure I make time to work out 3 or 4 times a week to make sure that I'm getting my body prepared for this upcoming. This will be the first time I'm in real football shape since high school probably, or since college really.
Wow.
So, where I've actually been lifting weights, where I've actually been going running, where I've actually been getting myself and my body in order to actually withstand a full season. So that is really the way forward for the Spartans. I want every player to adapt to that. I want every player to start having that same mindset. I want the guys who are really going to buy in to what the program is building. Because, you know, it's not just going to make you good on the field. It's also going to take care of a lot of things for you off the field.
Right.
You know, and being healthy it should be one of our primary goals in life. Yep. So
now, guys, if you're anybody living in that northeastern corridor of Florida, I promise you, Vi's going to be one of the best owners for your future if you want to stick football out. If it's hey, I'm a one and done, Vi's not your dude. All right, Vi's not your dude. If you're a guy who says I want to play this for 10 years, go to Vi. He's all about the future. He's all about building towards something. He's all about the process, not just about the W. Right. So give him a call. Give him a shout. Vi, what's a way these cats can get at you? You got a email or something, or can they leave a message on the website? What's the best way to get at you?
Oh yeah, you can definitely contact us via Facebook. We do have a Jacksonville Spartans page. You can also listen. I really don't mind if you shoot me a text or call me directly. My phone number is 904-254-8834. Man, I love talking about the team. I love doing what I do, and typically, man, once guys come out and they kind of see what we're building out there, we don't have many guys that come out and work out with the team and not want to come back. You know, it's rare that happens. So. Like I said, we're building. We have a nice brotherhood. We're building that relationship. But yeah, like I said, Facebook through the Jacksonville Spartans page. Call me or text me. My personal Facebook page. You can reach out to me on. And then we do have an email, JaxSpartans 2019 at gmail.com.
That's JAX like X-ray, correct?
Yes, sir. JAX Spartans at gmail.com. JAX Spartans 2019 at gmail.com.
There you go. Sweet. So there's a whole bunch of ways to get it, Vi. So I got two things for you. Number one, how's our boy, my fellow birthday sharing, your adopted brother, Droza? How's he doing?
He's doing well, man. He's doing well. I'm still kind of getting him in the mode of understanding how to be a coordinator and understanding how to be a coach. Of course, he's not a bad football guy as far as knowledge, but his problem is, he's still transitioning from a fan to a coach. He's a guy who loves the game and passionate about the game, and emotional about the game. But I got to get him to channel it in the coaching.
What? Passionate and emotional? What? So this cat, let me just tell you what. This dude, okay, so first of all, he's shorter than Vi. All right, so this guy's I bust him on his balls all the time. This guy, he's just a little dude, right? But his heart's bigger than just about anybody else's on the field. This cat loves the game, loves it. His emotional state during a football game is like a teenager who knows he's getting laid. This dude is going crazy pregame. He's crazy. First game I'm with him, all I can relate it to is, do you remember the cartoon where you had the bulldog, right? And then you had the little dog jumping around. Hey, Spike, hey, Spike, hey, Spike, hey, Spike. That's me and Droza, right? I was the bulldog.
Which one is which?
I'm the bulldog. And Droza's the little, hey, Spike, hey, Spike, hey, Spike. It got to the point where I'm like, I had to pull him aside in the middle of the game. Might have been the first or second game. I'm like, dude, you need to tone it down. He's like, what are you talking about? I'm just excited. I'm like, when you look frantic, because his excitement comes off as nervous energy. And I'm trying to tell him, dude, you have to look like you're under control. There's spots where you can show emotion, but you're leading men. You have to act like you are under control. He couldn't do it. He was so spazzy. We had to put him in the tower to film the games, and he's still screaming shit down on the field. I'm yelling at him, go, dude, shut up. Shut up. I've never met a guy with
Make
more
it this
love.
straight, Kenny. Make it this straight. You were telling somebody that their emotion on the sideline was affecting their football team. Is that what I heard you just say?
Listen, I'm a lot calmer than I used to be. For the most part, compared to Droza. Now listen, I still drop an F-bomb or two at the refs and get a little heavy on the refs sometimes, but dude, this guy's up in the tower filming the games for us. And he's screaming in subs and he's screaming coverages and he's screaming. And I look at him, dude, shut up. But he's a good dude. You'll never meet anybody who loves the game more than that cat. He loves the game. So last thing before we go, I really appreciate your time. This interview went a little bit long, but I love it because you're our first Florida guy, and I got Craig coming on actually in a few weeks. So we'll talk some Raiders too. Craig was Vi's defensive coordinator, so he's coming on in a couple weeks too. So, but let's talk about this. Is a question we're going to start asking everybody. In the world of semi-pro, unfortunately or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, every team at one point or another gets into a melee, an absolute brawl. Can you remember a time at the semi-pro level that there's one brawl that just stokes your fire and you're like, damn, I can't believe that happened?
I don't think we've had a brawl.
Never.
No.
You've never ever had a bench emptying rally right in the middle of the field where people going crazy, throwing helmets, referees walking off the field going, I'm done.
Nope.
I hear Tommy laughing back there. Tommy, are you sure? Is he telling the truth?
We not because he was trying to think of one. We had, but it wasn't. I mean, we had like a situation where it might have been one time where it was a little bit of a fight, but it wasn't bench clearing. It was like once or twice, man. But we've never had like a big brawl. We've never had one.
Well, there you go, folks. If you're in Northeast Florida, that's a better reason to play for Vi right there. Keeps his players under control. No brawls.
Amen
I didn't even know.
that.
Yeah, I didn't even think that was possible. I didn't think that was possible.
I can't claim that. I've had them.
We've had some close calls now. We've had some close calls, and don't get me wrong, like we've had a couple fights. But like a big like bench clearing brawl, not one. Not I don't think we've had a situation where somebody got like hit with the helmet or anything along those lines. We haven't. And don't get me wrong, I've had like players throw helmets just like on the sidelines, things like that. But Tommy broke his helmet one time. I suspended TG.
We had one so big one time.
Did you hear that, guys? Again, another. Go ahead, Wolf. Sorry about that.
We had one so big one time, coach, down in Houston. I was in Killeen, Texas, coach, and we went to Houston to play. Let's just say there's a chip on the shoulder down in Houston, and not only did both benches clear, the crowd got involved. I'm not kidding.
What?
People throwing down. Cops showed up. Referees ran for the locker room. I'm like, well, I guess this game's over.
Wow, that's crazy. Well, listen, if you're in the Northeast, that's Northeast section of Florida. That's another reason to go check out Vi because he runs a great organization, and like I said, but get yourself right, get yourself healthy. No matter what team you play for, no matter what state you're in, dude, don't just roll out of bed and think you're gonna play football. This is grown man football. This might not be NFL football where dudes are benching 350, 400 pounds, but there's some guys that are.
Volkswagens.
Yeah, there's some guys that are, and they'll clean your damn clock. All right. So if you come in there and you're lazy and you're not prepared, they're gonna whoop your ass. So just be ready.
They got to look at it, Kenny. They got to look at it like this. There's a lot of people in semi-pro ball that are pissed off they didn't make it to the show, and they're taking it out on the guy across the field from them.
Yep, absolutely right. Absolutely right. All right, Vi, I appreciate your time, man. It's always great to talk to fellow owners / players / you've seen it. One last thing to tell you a little bit about what kind of dude Vi is. Vi ran for mayor too, by the way. So Vi's got
enough hair.
That's right. He's not old enough yet, right? So Vi's always got his hands into something, man. This dude doesn't just sit back and wish for things to happen. He's you did some motivational speaking too, if I remember correctly, right? So I mean he doesn't just sit on his hands and wish things happen. He tries to make them happen. So, he's a dude you want to be around and get to know. So again, he gave you I'll put stuff on the screen below so you can get at him. Vi, appreciate your time, buddy. Obviously, once we're playing ball again, I'm going to want you back on. We're going to talk some ball, and who knows, depending on what my career does for me, I'd like to travel and watch some games and maybe even broadcast a game or two live on this thing. So maybe I'll end up in Jacksonville and, I'll be up next to Pedroza putting a muzzle on him while we're, doing a show.
Hey, you can have fun with that.
All right, buddy. Say hello to everybody for me, man. Appreciate your time. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Hey, happy Father's Day to you and everybody else.
Yes, sir. Happy Father's Day to you guys.
Bye, be well.
It's been a pleasure. And nice meeting you, Coach Dave.
All right, Vi, be well, huh?
Be good, my man.
Yes, sir. We'll do.
All right, we'll see you.
All righty.
Bye now.
Yes, sir.
Well, all right. That's awesome, man. I love speaking with, someone who's been there, a fellow owner, if you will. He's done pretty much player, owner, coaching. He does a little bit of everything. So it's, nice to get his perspective. Even more importantly, it's nice to get a perspective from Florida, right? So we've been talking a lot of New York guys. One guy's out of Pennsylvania. Yep. You yourself out of Colorado. I have a couple more dudes lined up from Colorado. So, we're trying to spread the wealth of semi-pro up and down this country. So, good to get Florida on the horn here. So, the other thing I want to say is, Wolf, I really do appreciate you on a Father's Day weekend, hopping on here, sharing your story, number one, because I know it's not an easy one, but sharing your story, being honest with us, and then, showing us a little bit of that beautiful lake you're sitting at and, struggling to, have to look at all day long. But yeah, what a shame. Just roughing it, my man. Just roughing it.
It's
And
terrible,
listen,
man. Somebody got to do it. Why not me?
right, right. So listen again.
And I
If
looked
you
at you for years. Why can't I look at this
Oh,
now?
that's a good point. I can't say stuck looking at me for a little while. You probably ought to. You probably deserve that like that. All right. So listen, if you guys again, if you're an RVer, reach out to Wolf. And again, I'll put his contact information on here as well. If you
Let's focus on grand families right now. I got more
Yeah.
information on that, things I can help with.
There we go.
RVing, we're still learning. We're gonna combine the two. Okay, so don't
There
let's
we go.
X's and O's, Kenny. Slow down.
There we go. Next step. I was going to say, secondly, if you're a grandparent, being a what do they call that? What are you calling them?
I call it a grand family.
Grand family. If you're a grand family, reach out to Wolf. Start sharing some stories. I'm sure Wolf's one of those dudes. He absorbs information. He is a sponge. So if you got some scenarios you want to run by him, and I'm sure he's got some scenarios he can run by you, and you guys can build a foundation together and start this thing off. So. Once again, appreciate you spending some time with us today. And you got anything you want to say on your way out, my man?
That's great talking to Vi. I really like hearing the stories and making contact with owners that are actually putting it together for the good of the sport. I believe, just the world according to me, semi-pro ball should be bigger than the NFL because the people who play semi-pro ball are still playing ball for the love of the game. They're not worried about making Ferrari insurance payments. You don't have to go through their agent to tell them you don't like the way they run the one-ish. There's just so much in my opinion. I don't even watch the NFL anymore because it's too predictable. You can stand there. You remember, Ken, if you think about it, one time at your place in Oswego, we sat there and watched, I can't remember the team. It was probably the Cowboys because you're a big Cowboy fan. But we watched 2 football games together. We were barbecuing and stuff, and we were taking turns calling the next offensive play that we thought the NFL would do. And if I remember right, we were in the 90% of calling those plays.
We were pretty close.
So I've gone back to college football because at least it's not quite as predictable. 1, 2, they're playing for the love of the game. Yeah. But meeting an owner like Vi is rare. Big hats off to the owners out there that start it for the right reason. I am sick to my stomach of all these people who get mad. I don't like Kenny Anderson. I'll start a football team. And then it splits and splits. We were talking the other day about Colorado and how in the city I live in, I watched one team split over 10 years into 6 teams.
Wow.
And none of them ever did anything.
Right.
So I'm sorry if you're one of those guys out there that you're on a team that's sort of challenged. I mean, think about it, Kenny. The first time you and I coached together on the sideline, our first 5 games was 0-5. But we turned it around and we got it going.
Mm-hmm.
But what if half the players would have left the next year and started another team?
Right.
What a bunch of crap. If we're going to make semi-pro get the publicity that it deserves, the players like yourself, the players like Vi, the players like Hinkie that have done amazing after high school, after careers, and nobody knows anything about it because semi-pro ball is called, like you called it, bar league. Nah, we got to get this stopped. So
we're the black market. We're the black market of sports. It's almost like people are ashamed to talk about. I've never been ashamed to be a semi-pro player. To me, I always approached it as this is my NFL. And
if you don't like the team you play for, go talk to the owner like you guys did back up there in New York. You went and talked to the owner and tried to work something out to change the way things go. Don't split off and take half the players. Because if you were on a crappy team in the first place and you take half the crappy team players, now you have 2 crappy teams. How did you fix anything? Man, okay, we're going to stay off that. Because there's a lot of teams like the one you and I were on, the Red and Black. They've been around for years. How about out in Colorado Springs, Colorado Spring Flames? Mm-hmm. Those guys have been around for years. Coach Reese is a rock star. If you ever go down in his basement, he's got more trophies than damn. You know what I mean? That guy played in Houston, played for the 49ers, and has been coaching football, 30 years. And he literally has a trophy case bigger than my freaking truck.
Nice.
Now, those are the kind of organizations that need, in my opinion, deserve the kudos. You know what I mean? So, hey, like Kenny was talking about earlier with Vi, if you're going to split off for a good reason. Split off because don't do it is my message, really. Don't do it.
Don't do it.
Because
the odds are you won't last 2 seasons.
What?
Odds are if you're a new team, you don't last 2 seasons. You're lucky to get off the ground. There was a team in Syracuse this year. Right. A second team tried to start, didn't even get off the ground. They got on the league. We tried a team. We didn't get off the ground. It's hard. It's hard.
It
and
is.
I had money. I had backing. And I still couldn't get it off the ground.
Right. We had money. We could do it. Like I just talked with you about the other day, bylaws in leagues where if a team splits and starts another team, that team shouldn't be allowed to play in that league for at least 2, if not 3 years. Prove you're going to make it, because it hurts the leagues. These guys got to stop this stuff. Now I get it. You can't, like he can't take all of Jacksonville.
Right.
You can't have a 100-mile square area like an NFL team. But if he's trying to play football with 60 other teams, you've only got one that's any good, and the rest are just open.
Right. That is a problem in Jacksonville. You know, there are a couple, 1 or 2 teams that dominate, and the rest are watered down. And at some point, they got to just say, "Fuck it, let's get together and let's do what's right for the sport and stop being selfish." We all go through selfish stages. I'm in one now, right? I'll admit it, but there'll be a day where I say, again, like we talked, if something changes in Paige's life and I need to stop being selfish, I'll stop being selfish. So stop. I'm going to say again, stop starting new teams, stop starting new leagues, get with what you have and try to make it better instead of trying to make it worse. And making it better isn't always starting your own team. Trust me, that's not always the answer. It's usually not the answer. You're lucky if 10% of new teams make it after a year.
Yeah, you're right. I don't think 5%
after a year. So it's crazy.
And making it, it's just like in any business. I own restaurants, I own bars, I own delicatessens. All the time I was in the Army, you know this. Making it 1 year, that ain't a success. Talk to me when you hit 5 and 10 years.
Absolutely. Absolutely right. Yeah, 5 years is usually considered success, right? You can sustain longer than 5 years. So, all right, my man, it's been a great show. We're sneaking up on 2 hours here. This is a double what our normal. We got twice.
Grandsons have already let me know.
That's right. We got twice the fun out of this show. So, listen, enjoy the rest of your Father's Day weekend with your boys. Tell Peg and everyone I said hello. And I definitely appreciate you filling in for us. We'll have you back. We know that for sure.
All right, brother. Talk to you soon. You well.
All right. See you.